A family in Texas moved into a brand new house in 2023. It was a custom build, fresh paint, gleaming countertops. Within 3 months, their 4-year-old daughter started getting nosebleeds that would not stop. The father developed a cough that no antibiotic could touch. The mother began waking up every morning with migraines so severe she could not drive to work. They went to 6 different doctors. Nobody could figure it out. Then one day, a contractor came to fix a leak under the kitchen sink, pulled back a section of drywall, and stopped talking. Behind the wall, from the floor to the ceiling, was a thick black layer of mold. It had been growing since before they moved in. The house was 11 months old. What that family did not know yet is that this was not a freak accident. According to the Environmental Protection Agency and multiple independent studies, an estimated 47% of homes in the United States have dampness or mold conditions. Nearly half. The homes getting hit hardest right now are not the old neglected buildings you would expect. They are brand new. The assumption most people carry is simple. New construction means clean. New construction means safety. You walk into a freshly built home or apartment, you smell paint, you see spotless countertops, and your brain tells you everything is fine. But what is happening behind the drywall, underneath the flooring, inside the wall cavities, and deep in the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning ducts is something no open house tour is designed to show you. And here's where it starts to get ugly. Modern homes are built tight, extremely tight. Over the last 15 years, energy codes have pushed builders toward airtight construction to reduce heating and cooling costs. On paper, that sounds great. Lower utility bills, better insulation, a smaller carbon footprint. But in practice, an airtight building seals moisture inside with no natural path to escape. The World Health Organization has stated that roughly 30% of new and remodeled buildings have indoor air quality problems directly related to mold. 30%. That means nearly 1 in 3 new buildings is already compromised before the first tenant even moves in. But here is what nobody tells you about how this actually happens. During construction, lumber sits outside in rain. Drywall gets delivered and stored on open lots. Concrete is poured, and the building is framed and sealed before those materials have fully dried. In humid climates, framing can absorb moisture for weeks, while the structure is open to the elements. Builders are under pressure to hit deadlines, close sales, and move to the next project. Every week a house sits unfinished is money lost. So they close up the walls. They install the vapor barriers. They turn on the HVAC. And they trap weeks of accumulated moisture inside a sealed box. Some mold remediation companies report being called to new construction sites on a near-weekly basis during peak building season. That moisture does not disappear. It migrates into the wood framing, into the insulation, into the back side of the drywall. And within 48 hours, according to researchers at Harvard, mold begins to grow. Not in a month, not in a year. 48 hours. And the thing about hidden mold in a wall cavity is that you cannot see it. You cannot smell it until it has already colonized. By the time you notice a musty odor or a dark spot near a baseboard, the growth behind that wall can be extensive. It could be running along entire stud bays, feeding on the paper backing of the drywall, spreading through the insulation, and pumping spores into your air system every time the HVAC kicks on. And because new homes use central air with return vents in nearly every room, the contamination spreads everywhere. Your bedroom, your nursery, your kitchen. One contaminated wall cavity can seed an entire house through the ductwork. But here is where the real damage gets personal. According to data compiled from the EPA and the CDC, approximately 4.6 million asthma cases in the United States are estimated to be directly attributable to dampness and mold exposure at home. 40% of asthma episodes are triggered by mold and related allergens. The Mayo Clinic has reported that 96% of chronic sinus infections are linked to mold overexposure. And researchers have documented cognitive symptoms, including brain fog, memory problems, anxiety, and chronic fatigue in people living in mold-affected environments. One study found that 62% of workers in mold-contaminated buildings reported neurological symptoms. This is not about a stain on the wall. This is about what you are breathing every single night while you sleep. Have you noticed? Leave a comment. And the trap is that the people most at risk are the ones who just spent everything they had on a house. First-time buyers, young families, people who stretched their budget to buy new construction because they believed it meant fewer problems. They close on a home, move in, and within 6 months, someone in the family starts getting headaches that will not go away. A kid develops a cough that no doctor can explain. Allergies that did not exist before suddenly appear. They cycle through urgent care visits, allergy medications, inhalers, and nobody connects it to the house because the house is brand new. The family spends thousands on medical bills, chasing a diagnosis, while the actual cause is growing 6 inches behind the wall in their bedroom. But here is where the system protects the builder, not you. There are no federal regulations in the United States specifically governing mold in residential buildings. None. The EPA provides guidelines. The CDC offers recommendations. But there is no federal standard that says a builder must test for mold before handing you the keys. Most standard home inspections do not include mold testing. It is not part of the checklist. You would have to request and pay for a separate mold inspection, and most buyers do not even know that is an option. And the builders know this. Large production builders, the ones putting up hundreds of homes a year in subdivisions across the Sun Belt, operate on volume. Their margins depend on speed. According to industry professionals and mold remediation specialists, the most common causes of mold in new construction are wet lumber that was never properly dried and improperly installed vapor barriers. These are not rare defects. These are systemic shortcuts that come from building fast and building cheap. And in a housing market where demand outpaces supply, builders face almost no consequences for cutting corners, because the next buyer is already waiting in line. And when a homeowner discovers mold, here is what typically happens. They call the builder. The builder sends someone out who says it is surface mold, wipes it down, maybe repaints. The homeowner thinks the problem is solved, but the growth behind the wall was never addressed. The moisture source was never identified. And 6 months later, the mold is back, often worse. Some homeowners report going through 3 or 4 rounds of this before they realize the builder has no intention of tearing open walls and fixing the root cause. Now here's the part that should make your blood boil. When homeowners do pursue legal action, mold cases are classified as toxic tort litigation. They require expert witnesses, environmental testing, medical documentation, and can take 2 years or more to resolve. Most standard homeowner insurance policies either exclude mold entirely or cap coverage at a small fraction of the total policy value. So even if your walls are full of toxic black mold caused by a construction defect, your insurance might pay out $10,000 on a problem that costs $60,000 to fix. Settlement amounts from lawsuits vary wildly. Some families have won judgments in the hundreds of thousands. One case in Manhattan Beach reportedly resulted in a $22.6 million settlement after a family claimed their infant suffered permanent damage from mold exposure in a newly built home. But most families cannot afford to fight that battle. They are stuck in a house they cannot sell because home resale values drop 20 to 37% once mold is documented, and as many as half of potential buyers walk away from a deal when they learn a property has had mold problems, even after remediation. So what do you actually do to protect yourself? If you are buying new construction, do not rely on the standard home inspection. Hire an independent mold inspector who uses moisture detection equipment and infrared imaging. This costs a few $100s and could save you tens of thousands. Ask the builder directly whether the framing was exposed to rain during construction and how long the structure was open before it was sealed. If they dodge the question or say it does not matter, that tells you everything you need to know. Before closing, walk the house with a moisture meter. You can buy one for under $50. Check around windows, along baseboards, in closets, under sinks, and anywhere plumbing runs through walls. Moisture readings above 60% in any area are a red flag. If you are already in a new home and you are experiencing unexplained respiratory symptoms, headaches, fatigue, or chronic sinus issues, get an AER quality test done. Do not wait for visible mold. Spore counts in the air can be dangerously high long before you see anything with your eyes. Keep your indoor humidity between 30 and 50%. Use a standalone hygrometer to monitor it. Run exhaust fans in every bathroom and kitchen. And if your builder installed the cheapest possible HVAC system, which many of them do, consider upgrading to a unit with better humidity control and filtration. The builders who are doing this right exist. They use kiln-dried lumber. They schedule construction phases around weather. They allow proper curing time for concrete and drywall. They install whole house ventilation systems that actually manage moisture. They test before closing. But those builders are not the ones putting up the fastest, cheapest homes in the hottest markets. The ones dominating new construction right now are the volume builders, the publicly traded companies answering to shareholders who care about units delivered per quarter and profit margins per subdivision, not whether the framing was dry when they closed it up. Right now, new home construction is booming in the Southeast, the Gulf Coast, Texas, Arizona, and Florida. These are also some of the most humid regions in the country. The exact places where moisture management matters most are the exact places where production speed matters most to the builders. And without a single federal regulation requiring mold testing at delivery, there is no checkpoint between the builder sealing that house and you signing the mortgage. That math does not work in your favor. The house looks perfect the day you get the keys. What is growing inside the walls is a different story. And by the time you find out, the warranty clock is already ticking.